إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، فإن أصدق حديث كلام الله، وخير الحدي حدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة، وكل ضلالة في النار. وبعد, we've been asked to speak basically, as our brother Hanif has placed it on the note that he wrote, why are we here? Something explaining the role of the masjid, the goals, the objectives. And I think that the masjid really properly should have defined itself by now. It's been open for a while. But nevertheless, answering his request, I say first and foremost that there are certain requirements that we are to have before we endeavor to do what we're trying to do at Masjid Rahmat or anywhere else on earth. And that is, first and foremost, al-ikhlas, sincerity. And when he says, why are we here? And why are we here at Masjid Masjid Rahmat? Why are we here at Masjid Rahmat? The Masjid of Mercy, insha'Allah ta'ala. And we had thought of another name, but really this is the name that is required in this place, in this particular place, at this particular time, this matter of mercy, rahmah. Because we find that it's almost non-existent. We find it almost non-existent. Nevertheless, the first and foremost matter that we need, jazakallah khair, is al-ikhlas, sincerity. And this can be achieved in many ways. But one of the important issues to think about regarding ikhlas is that to hide your good deeds like you hide your bad deeds. To conceal your good deeds like you conceal your bad deeds. You know, a person will go through all types of striving to make sure that their bad deeds are concealed. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want even it to be suspected of them. So, to hide the good deeds like that. Because and I've lived in this area before, and there is a issue that often goes around which involves bragging. And which involves that I've done this, and I've read that, and I've studied this, and I memorized that. It is so apparent sometimes that if an individual doesn't involve or indulge in that, that person is considered like he doesn't have anything. Obviously, he doesn't know anything. Obviously, he hasn't studied anything. Why? Because he's not bragging about it. Everybody brags about what they know. Well, this is the opposite of ikhlas. And here, when we talk about Masjid Rahmat, this is something we want to avoid. We want to avoid this issue of bragging and this issue of hubb al-dhuhur, loving to be shown or loving to appear, loving to be known. Yushiru ilayka bin binan, that you're pointed to. This is not the way of the Salaf, and it is that which, even if you had ikhlas, if the people start to act like this, you may lose your ikhlas, your sincerity. So the first thing is that issue of hiding the good deeds like you hide your bad deeds. Your good deed is for Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. Leave it between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But if someone unaware, unbeknownst to you, finds out about it, then that's another issue. And there's an example of that with Imam Bukhari rahimahullah. That said, some man was sitting with Imam Bukhari, and Imam Bukhari rahimahullah was talking to him and noticed that there was some type of filth upon the floor of the masjid. So Imam Bukhari waited till the man left, Then he picked up the filth and placed it in his pocket. But unbeknownst to him, the man had looked back around and saw him. But this is how the Salaf were. He could have put it up in front of him. Most of us would have done that. But he wanted this deed to be sincerely for Allah Ta'ala alone. And this is how they were regarding their issues. That if they made tahajjud, like in the hadith of the well-known hadith that says that we will receive rain because of such and such star, one of the Sahaba was up that night. And he didn't want them to think that he was making tahajjud. So he said, something stung me. I was up that night. And then immediately when they asked, why were you up? Not tahajjud, not qiyam al-layl. He didn't want them to know. He would hide that. No, I was stung by something. Something stung me, disturbed me, and I was up. We have to have this quality. We have to have this quality. Another thing that we want to avoid is إقراب وأشياء الذي يدهش الناس. Oddness, being odd. We're not talking about being strange or being up on the sunnah. We're talking about being odd, doing something that is not the norm amongst the people. Because this comes into also a desire to what? Be known. Everyone else is doing this and what? He's doing that. And yudahish an-nas, surprise the people. Astonishing the people. Why you do? Well, you didn't know this sunnah? Yudahish an-nas. To surprise the people. It's not to teach them. For it was to teach them, you would have related it to them and then you would have done it. And you want to do something in the middle of everyone that makes everybody look at you. And it's strange and it's odd and it's extraordinary. What happened? What did he do? Like this. We want to avoid this type of matter also. So if we say what is the role here and what is our purpose here? Purpose here is the purpose wherever it is, wherever you may be upon the earth. To worship Allah Ta'ala alone, ascribe nothing to Him. Wherever we may be, it is to worship Allah Ta'ala alone. And the proper manner of doing that is in following Mustafa salawatullahi wa salam alayhi. To be in muwafaqa, in agreement with what Mustafa salawatullahi wa salam alayhi was upon. As the Bedouin Arab said to that tyrant Persian ruler, we came to call the creation from the worship of the creation to the worship of the Lord of the creation. Min ibadat al-khalq, from the worship of creation, illa ibadat Rabb al-khalq, to the worship of the Lord of creation. And this is the main purpose. The main purpose. So that we will focus, as we always do, upon Tawheed. Tawheed must be studied. Tawheed must be learnt. Tawheed must be memorized. Tawheed must be conveyed. Tawheed must be implemented. This is the whole issue. This is going to be the greatest focus, of course, of anybody who is on the da'wah salafiyya, the da'wah athariyya, the da'wah kitab al-sunnah, the da'wah of those upon the way of the salaf. He's going to focus upon Tawheed first and foremost. And he's going to start with himself, which many of us don't do. We don't start with ourselves, we start with outside the bait. We start with outside the house. But we are to focus first and foremost upon islah al-nafs, correcting ourselves and those most closest to us, our wives and our children. Then it goes outside. As the old saying goes, charity begins at home. Right? You got that together, then you move on from there. And many of us don't focus on the home. Every place has a role in our lives. The masjid, the bayt, the madrasa, if we have a proper one, all of them have roles in our lives. And we start with the household and ourselves, and then we branch out from there. Also, the masjid is a place of learning. And that means we have to have people that come out and sit in the circles. For some brothers may be a reminder. But Allah Ta'ala said, remind them, for reminding benefits a believer. Some of it, as I'm here more, I notice, For some, is the beginning. They never really studied the deen. They never really studied Tawheed. They never really studied the 6 principles of faith. They never really studied the 5 pillars. They never really studied the matters of worship and so on and so on. And this is found in many ways. Found in many ways by questions that you get from various brothers. It indicates to you that they did not study these issues. From the talking that you hear in Jummah, it indicates to you that these are people who are attending Jummah, who never understood the etiquette of Jummah and don't know that they've blown their Jummah by opening their mouths. And all of us together must be involved. This is not the masjid of Hanif or the masjid of Abdul Hakim or the masjid of this brother or that brother. This is the masjid, this is the house of Allah Ta'ala. And so it's a masjid for anybody who wants to worship Allah Ta'ala. So therefore, if you see something dirty, you clean it. Why? Not because of this brother on the shore or that brother there or this brother there, but for the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, you clean the masjid. When you see some deficiency, some nuqs, something that needs to be corrected, then you approach those who are representatives of you in a sense of authority in the masjid. Then authority in the masjid is not something that's an honor. It's a responsibility and a duty. So responsibility and a duty is something that it's going to be heavy on the shoulders of the individual. So to make that mas'uliyah, that responsibility easier, give him nasiha. Pull him aside and brother, I noticed this, well you should do this and you should do that. This is nasiha, which is another matter that we need to inculcate in our lives. Is the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ad-deenun nasiha, ad-deenun nasiha, ad-deenun nasiha, sincere advising of one another. And there's a difference between nasiha and ta'yir, as Ibn Rajab wrote a book about it. Nasiha and exposing someone. It's not our goal and will not be our goal, bi'idhnillah, from this mimbar that is behind me or from the lectures in here to expose individuals. This is not the purpose. For we want what Allah Ta'ala stated when He said, he who covers the faults of a believer, Allah Ta'ala will cover his faults on the day of judgment. There Allah Ta'ala cover faults, and He loves from His servants to cover faults. So exposing is one thing, nasiha is another. Nasiha is where you pull a brother aside and you have some rahmah and some mercy and some lutf and some gentleness and some concern, and you are telling him, and you have no ulterior motive in your heart, but you are speaking purely for the sake of Allah Ta'ala, hoping that He will accept your advice. And this is where the word nasiha comes from in Arabic. Is when you cleanse the honey, nasah al-asl, you cleanse the honey from what particular particles have fallen in it. So you don't have anything negative in your heart, and you have noticed a speck on the face of your brother, and the believer is a mirror to his brother. So therefore, the speck that you have had before, you've noticed it upon him, and you are trying to correct it, and you are trying to remove it, and you are trying to rectify him. An-nasiha. So the masjid will be from that standpoint also where we learn nasiha, where we learn how to give advice, where we learn how to show respect, where we learn how to have patience. Sabr is a must in this issue, to have sabr. You're not going to hear everything or all the time what you like to hear, but you're still ordered by Allah Ta'ala to be around your brothers, to pray with your brothers, to mix with your brothers, to eat with your brothers, to sit with your brothers, to talk with your brothers. And your brothers may do that from time to time due to shaitan or due to their nafs or due to their desires or their shortcomings which offend you. Then you have to have what the Salaf had, which was the ability of carrying something heavy. Tahammal, to carry something you might dislike, something that that offends you, but you carry that bihilm, with forbearance, for the general good that comes out of it, and for the fact that the brotherhood itself is something very, very expensive. And when you have something very expensive, you protect it and you guard it, and you don't want to lose it or let it go to nothing. So these are the things we have to do. And if we think about it This is what we